So if you acquire a customer and it takes you like $33, let's say, to find a new customer, then your average order value is $85. That means that you're spending 30 bucks to make 80 bucks. So now you're essentially walking to the bank every day, handing them 30 bucks, and they give you back 80.
Hey guys, I'm Christy Buss, and make sure you subscribe to Lux Media Studios, comment and like, and be sure to hit that bell. Hey everybody, Ageless Ambitions on Lux Media Studios. Today's the day on how we got going with our line Hedo and the word Hedo and just the whole way of how Hedo came to evolve. So I wanted to bring on a genius when it comes to product, websites, everything you can think about when it comes to marketing, everything, social media. Here's the guy right here. He's known as the Shopify Guy, but I know him as Jon. So Jon Yeazel.
Yes.
You're here. We've been through a lot.
Oh, yes, we have. Finally made it though.
Yeah, business is not easy sometimes, and I'm just thankful that you're here. And I really just want to go over everything that we did when we first started, because I was introduced to you by somebody who said that you could do the job for me because I wanted to go bigger than what my brand was, which was Christy Buss Skincare. And I knew it was bigger than me. And that's when we met and we talked, and then you gave me, you took a little time to figure it out. And when you presented it to me, I'm like, okay, but I didn't get it. So I'm just being honest.
I still remember that trip. Remember the trip out to LA when I showed you everything at your place.
Yes. And I was just like, I don't know. But then you talked to me about it and you said, trust me, like it's a short word. It means a lot when it comes driven from the word hedonism, which is more self-absorbing, self-indulge, self-pleasure. And you said, watch this take off. And so I wanted people to know more about what you do, because you have so many different things in the pot. Like you just know how to do so much. And just let everybody know what you do, because you really introduced me to a different way to look at a brand and evolve a brand around an idea of concept that will take it to another level. So let's go.
All right. So where should I start? Like kind of the origin story of Hedo and how I was thinking about it?
I just think that they need to know who you are, because you've done a lot in this industry, and then talk about Hedo. But how did you get going? You're from a school, I think you played basketball, right? Darius played ball, so you were more of a basketball player back in the day, and then went to school in Chicago, I think.
Yep.
Okay.
I went to school and I played.
Like, what did you know? Did you know where you're going to be when you were like in school, that this is the avenue you were going to take?
No, all I was really thinking about was, so I had got offered a scholarship to play Division I basketball my junior year. And so basically from then on, like most people in that position, it's kind of like you're thinking about, oh, I'm going to the NBA, so or something like that, playing overseas, whatever it may be. So I was doing that, and I went to school at Central Michigan, and then from there, I just basically went to school and didn't have any interest in what I was doing. It was just like to play basketball. So, I had a couple classes I was in, but just your general education stuff, nothing major. And then from there, it was just after I got done with school, I got into I actually considered taking, or the school I transferred to my senior year, I'm sorry. I took an architecture class, and that got me into architecture. So then for a little bit, I thought it was the first time that I would like rush home from practice to go do my homework, because I actually liked school.
Okay.
So it was like there was a drawing class, and I've never considered myself a creative in terms of like being an artist and all that, but I'm very like ideas and systems oriented, and just thinking about different things and how they work together. So from there, it's just like got into that. and realized, you know what, I don't have to spend another $80,000, because basketball was always paid for with school. So it's like, if I was actually going to do anything that I would want to do in architecture, it'd be like another 4 years of school and $120,000 or something just to be able to make a strip mall.
Right, right,
It's,
right.
people that are designing skyscrapers and stuff, they're like the NBA players of architecture. So
Right.
only so many of those. But so yeah, then I was like, you know what, I could be interested in architecture without being an architect. And so that was that. And then I got into, in 2012, after I finished school, I did another year at Columbia in Chicago. And so it's Columbia College. And there I was in a marketing program. And I had my first company that I launched, that I built my Shopify store with, was it was called the Fashion Anchor. And it was like a men's collar stay, this little product. I invented it in 2012. I launched a Kickstarter project with $400 and made $10,000, and then took that, built out the Fashion Anchor, did that for a few
Wait,
years.
what's a fashion anchor? Tell me again, what's that?
Oh, that was the first product I ever invented.
What
It's so like, you ever seen glue dots, like the little things that are at the craft stores? It's basically a
Yeah,
little disc of glue.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So about the size of a dime, double-sided piece of glue. And I was doing logistics management when I had finished school. It was just like kind of an in-between gig I was at. Um, and then I saw these girls outside of my office. The company that I was at did like digital marketing and direct mail stuff. So kind of that stuff that's on the back of like junk mail credit cards, that's real, you peel it off, it's like real stretchy. So they were putting that on a bunch of these like millions of gift cards a day. So then I went out there, and I was wearing a suit, and I think I had a pocket square in, and it just kept like falling down. And I saw those girls sticking stuff to it. It was just annoying me. So I went out and tried it. I was like, oh, it's probably going to ruin my suit, but I don't care. It's on the inside. I stuck it there. And then I went to take it off the next day, and it like came off clean as ever. There was no mess behind it, but it like solved this like annoying thing that I'm always dealing with. So it started with that, but then I was like, okay, this could be a collar stay. And
Oh,
this,
it holds the
yeah,
collar down.
exactly.
Okay,
But it
okay.
works for polo shirts, which don't have like the collar stay slots. And polo shirts are notorious for like, you lean on
Curl it
them, the
up. They
thing curls
curl up.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was this weird thing I stumbled on, and basically any fabric you could stick it to, it would go on there, basically create like an invisible button, and then when you wanted to take it off, it didn't leave any mess behind. So that was my first time where I basically took. So once I did that, and this was my first product I ever launched, I was like, dude, if I can figure out a way to market and find a use for and do this with a little piece of glue, I can pretty much sell anything if I just kind of use that same formula, make it look a little better, get better. Because in the beginning, I'm like, all right, I got to make this thing with glue look cool. So that was when I started finding people that did like 3D renderings of products and stuff like that. So it was like 10 years ago where I started down that path of trying to do those things. And so it all just like trickled down one after another. And now all of a sudden I'm making these really cool renderings that everybody likes and wants on their sites. So I was getting distracted from my own thing and started working on other people's projects because they would want me to do it.
And that's how
So
things
yeah,
happen,
yeah.
right?
So I was always in that middle area. And then yeah, and then my buddy Brian that I actually went to high school with, we used to ride like BMX bikes and stuff. And this was like middle school, earlier years. And so he knew that I had done the Fashion Anchor. Brian was actually a professional poker player. So he was the kid in high school that was like playing online poker on his dad's debit card and stuff like that. So it was like real cool back then. And then he was making a bunch of money, had a fancy watch in high school, all that stuff. So he ended up a couple of years after high school, called me because he saw that I started the Fashion Anchor,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted to start a company. And that company, I think I remember I showed Brian how to run. I wouldn't say I showed him how to run it, but I was running Facebook ads back in 2012 on my company. And then Brian, when he started a company called Oats Overnight, and he hired me to do that for him. And that company's now worth 100 million bucks. And they have like 350 employees and all sorts of stuff. So I watched that. I watched that basically from.
You did his Facebook ads or something?
Well, no, he saw me doing it. So,
Okay,
like a professional poker player, they're very like data, numbers, like that's like right up
right.
their
That's I
wheelhouse.
know. That's
And
what they.
yeah, and that's basically what running ads is in a lot of ways.
I
And
know
so
you know how to do
he
all that.
saw what I was doing. And this was like maybe 2 weeks after Instagram first started having like ads live where you could run ads on Instagram. It was relatively new. I didn't even know that. I just started them. So
Hmm.
we did that, and then he was basically like, "Oh, what's this thing?" I showed him I was running ads, and then he took it. He had a lot more money than me at that time, so he could just like start spending right away. And they had this product that is pretty universal that everybody in the world can eat breakfast. So he just started spending money like super fast, and they just grew like every single month. And like the biggest part of what I do now and how I'm able to kind of see things without it happening is because I've seen it so many times. But before I had seen somebody do even 50,000 in a month, I would have never, like, that was just this huge number that wouldn't have made sense. I'm like, yeah, okay, how are you going to do that? So it was just, you just see it over and over again. And
Like
then,
Facebook ads back in 2012 is so
yeah,
different than even now, but nobody
yep,
really understood even how to do Facebook ads back then. So you're really
yeah,
ahead of the game, really
yeah,
ahead of the game. And that's not
yeah,
the only thing you do. I mean, Facebook ads, but I mean, there's so much to what you can offer because you can
yeah,
build a whole site. You could do Shopify. My Shopify is from you. You
yep,
built that site, and rendered the product and what it looked like with the name and the label. So you've done that for a lot of companies, not just mine.
yeah,
And
yep.
so wow, people need to know about that. Like
Yeah,
um
that stuff is
you
kind of at
make
the point
better
now
ads, you
I have
assemble a team, I'm
yeah.
looking at your thing, you chat GBT, you do the God mode. What does that mean?
Chat GPT God mode is just like a funny way to say being really good at Chat GPT.
Okay, got you. And then you make sense of numbers, which is really hard for me because
Yeah,
I when you say, oh, people spend up to $50,000 a month on Facebook ads, and I'm like, how do even people think about stuff like that? Like that's
yeah,
crazy. But then they make how does that fold into something if you do it right? If you know how to
yeah.
like how do Facebook ads work? Like how does that work?
Yep, it's a simple formula when it all comes down to it, which is just how much does it cost for you to acquire a customer, and then how much on average is every order. So if you acquire a customer and it takes you like $33, let's say, to find a new customer, then your average order value is $85. That means that you're spending $30 to make $80. And so you do that over and over again. And then that's why I always say, that's like a very simplified version of what it takes to make those things all make sense. But that's essentially what you're aiming for. Just
Mhm.
something that you can spend money to get a customer and make more money on every order than you spent. So now you're essentially walking to the bank every day, handing them $30, and they give you back 80. And then you just go put it back into the business, and they let you do it as much times as a
But
day
but
as you
does it really work like that for a lot of people? Like you have to have a formula, right? Because
want.
people spend money on Facebook ads and nothing happens.
Yeah.
That's something that I want people to know out there. Like I know that people do spend money and nothing happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens all the time. And
That's
I've
because
even
they
seen
don't
it.
know.
Yeah, I've even seen it happen where I was working with an agency and they did really, really well. They worked with the stuff that I was putting together. And then somebody else that they worked with, they hired me later, and it was like, oh, I had worked with them. I fired them after 2 weeks. It didn't work. And then meanwhile, I had just made over the last 18 months like 2.5 million bucks with them almost.
So it just,
So it's like you start to see those things, and it's like, okay, because every step of the way, there's usually something where it would kind of just limit your thinking of, oh, well, it must be this. Like a lot of people before they run ads, they're obsessed with thinking that their website is what doesn't work. Even sometimes like that was something I forget who it was, but they just kept going back and forth and tweaking the website and doing all these things. And then I would say, okay, well, what are you doing with like how are you getting traffic to the site? And there was no money being put towards that, which I always say is essentially like building a shop of it's like building a shopping mall in the middle of the desert. You just built them all, put all this money into it, fixed up all the rooms, did all that, and then you're sitting there upset that there isn't
Nobody's going
random
there.
passersby.
Right, right.
And then
right.
you keep tweaking the site and thinking, oh, well, the mall just must not be that good looking, or maybe we need different stores or whatever. And then it's like, well, you're still in the desert. So
Mhm.
that's the number one thing I see everybody doing.
Gotcha.
So
That's
so
a
it's,
big
it's
lesson.
yeah, you want to put your money into getting people to the site. I've seen really ugly websites make over $1 million a month, and I've seen beautiful websites make $0 a month.
Believing Before Seeing, a new bestseller by Candace Barr. Order your copy today.
And that's what you keep telling me all the time.
Yeah.
And then like, let's say for instance, because like, ads, like videos,
Yeah.
Max. No, come here. Hold on. Max, come here. That will be taken out. Anyway, when you took something that I maybe made as a video and then you enhance it with certain things that maybe
Yeah.
make it closer, and then the little pop-ups that you say makes a big difference when you do video like that. And that's another thing that you do. So it's not
Yep.
just one avenue of what you put out
Yep.
there as your stuff that you get to do. And then I think that you're teaching classes or something. I don't know, like you have it on the back channel. What's
Yep.
that?
Yeah, I'm going to be launching a course. I'm just kind of getting, I wouldn't say burnt out on client work, but it's just, I've been wanting to, I have all these individual conversations with people. And then I just think to myself, like, man, like there's thousands of people that if they heard this conversation or heard this information, they could make a whole bunch of extra money, like relatively easily just by switching how they think about something. So
Putting
you
a
have
course
enough of those
together.
calls and then you're like, man, why am I doing this like one at a time?
Right,
I could be just making more content about it and putting it out there. And, so that's kind of where I want to get to. Right now, I've been working a lot more in the business where I just want to be like hovering above everything and be able to just get on the phone
Except
with
for me.
somebody. Yeah, except for you.
No,
Christy, till I retire.
I think it's great because, the knowledge that we, most people have, and we keep spending money sometimes and it just doesn't go anywhere. It's because we don't know. And what you're trying to say is to put together some kind of program or some kind of, what do you want to call it? A course, that
Yep.
most people can just like listen to and
Yeah.
because you try to go on YouTube and figure things out and it's so outdated. It's so outdated and things change over very fast all the time. So
Yep.
people know what's happening.
Yeah, we've all been on YouTube looking through the 10-minute video for the 10-second answer we need.
Right. And it's just
basically
it's more than that. It just doesn't even go anywhere. They just get a lot of views for nothing because it doesn't mean anything.
So that's actually what I wanted to do with my courses. I wanted to make it just feel like you were consuming content that you'd find on social media, where it's like it's more tactical in terms of like step by step, but it just gets right into it. Something that most people would make a 10-minute course for, I finish it in like 1 minute, because a lot of times what's actually needed is just boil it down to this and this. And it's like most people just want certainty on something, because when you're just floating and you're like putting this money here, there, and when there's not enough money that comes back right away, you're just in this weird limbo area where you don't even know if you're headed in the right direction. And then it makes it really hard to continue to spend money on ads, because it's not easy to light money on fire every day and just not flinch.
Definitely that. So
and sometimes it can take 3 to 4 weeks until the thing really warms up, and then you're making money and now you got the machine going. So, but until you get to that point, there's dozens of people I know that went through 3, 4, 5 agencies and just didn't have the, and it's not even to say that every time it would have got there if they were more patient or something, but just the fact that they don't have any certainty or haven't seen enough variables in stuff that did work, didn't work. So that's the type of stuff I want to share.
Yeah, because a lot of those agencies don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
Yep.
So when it comes to Hedo, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about, because we were going to get to that, but like what made it come to life the way that you presented it to me? Like, how did that work?
Yep. So Abigail was actually she was a big proponent of, or she was the one that I pretty much tasked
She's a
with,
poet,
like,
isn't she? She's like a writer. She can write.
yeah, she's a very good writer, actually.
Mhm.
So basically within my operation, what I've always done is find people that don't work in e-commerce at all. That's like been kind of my secret sauce throughout doing all these things. But I have a really good eye for talent of people that know how to do things that they didn't even know were e-commerce related. So like Hedo, for instance, that was actually, Abigail did a lot on Underneath with me and a few other smaller ones before there, but Hedo was one of the first few projects that she actually did. And she just like crushed it. As soon as she showed me, I was just like, dude, that's it. That's such a great name. And then the fact that the domain was available, so it was like, I dove into it right away because you just want a brand to have some type of story and give it some legs to be able to talk about different things. A good name can evoke a bunch of different visuals that you use within the brand. And then it's easy to say, it's memorable.
Well, some people say it a lot of different ways, especially like in the Midwest. Hedo.
Hedo, Hedo.
Hedo. Yeah. I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
It's okay because they misspell it. Over time, they get to really understand what it is, right? Because that's like people like didn't even know how to. What's Shiseido? People call it different than Shiseido. They call it, I don't know, Shiseido. They call it different things. So it's okay if they don't know how to pronounce it, but over time they learn about it and they really understand that Hedo is the name. So yeah, for sure.
And I'm sure there was people when there's probably people that used to call it like Nike or, other things instead of Nike or famous brands. So
Nike. Yeah, it was called Nike for a while, right?
Yeah. Or people might have looked at it for the first time before it was actually Nike and just been like, what's this? Nike? How do you pronounce this thing? So it's really just about getting the word out there. And then eventually everybody knows about it.
Everybody's getting to know about Hedo for sure. Yes. So I love the packaging. Everybody loves the packaging. We went, I went a little further with it for more retail when it comes to the boxing and stuff. But just the whole font and the way that came about was just so good. And I'm just so excited about where Hedo is going and where it's going to go. And I mean, you talked to me even yesterday about numbers. Like I'm afraid to get bigger, like I'm afraid to move too fast because it's moving fast right now. And you're saying like $1 million a month. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even conceive that right now, but you know that it can, right? You see that happening. And so
as long as they had done kind of those things that were just consistent amongst all the brands, almost every brand that I've seen that was at that 50 to 100,000 mark, if they kept doing those things and did it long enough, then they would get up there or very close to it. So
I got to get there. I got to get there. So, okay. So what can my audience, get from wanting, if they wanted to, talk to you about their brand? Because is it something that you do? Do you help develop their brand still? Do you just do the marketing? Do you just hover and let other people do it? Like how does the Shopify Guy work right now?
Yep. So mostly consulting and team building. So kind of like a remote CMO position is what it's best described as. So CMO would be, anybody not familiar, just Chief Marketing Officer. And so, it's basically me getting on phone calls when needed, doing reports here and there, just to kind of show an update of what things are going on. And then just doing high level strategy of, all right, here's how we're going to price your products. Here's how we're going to bundle them where it's needed. Here's what our core offer is going to be that we get everybody to the site looking at. Here's what a new brand might look like for you. All sorts of stuff. So and
then you let other people do it?
Yep. So I have right now the only people that I personally think anybody needs in an ecom brand to get from 0 to 100K a month, or even like 100K a month to $1 million a month, is a really solid video team. Some type of I always like to have founders that just kind of already are making content. So because you can never have enough content. Like everything, if you can get in front of people and be entertaining, your videos will get out there. And if you think about every visit to your site as basically what it is, which is it costs about $1 to get somebody to click on your site nowadays in the just general digital advertising world. So like if you make a post on Instagram about Hedo and it gets 270 people to the website, that's basically like spending $270 on Facebook ads.
Okay.
So that's like,
Told me, like,
sometimes,
you text me or you're like, yeah, do more videos like that. It's just, this will
yeah,
definitely, like you still look out for
yeah,
me, like in terms of what's going to hit and what you like, what
yeah,
you like, because it's going to do something,
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really just a lot of times it's just a founder telling the story of what they did.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons and tons of people that want to get into e-commerce, and I always kind of have to step out of like all day, every day for the last 10 years. That's all I've been thinking about or doing. Or when I have friends, it's usually because, like us, we became
Right.
friends because we met through a project, and that's usually how it is. You're around your clients, you got multiples of them all the time. So it's hard to even like imagine a world outside where somebody is like, Shopify, what's that? Because it's just all you're talking about all the time. So, or just e-commerce in general. But there's like
There's a
so
lot of people
many
out
people
there.
out there that have never even heard of it, never done it, never tried it. So it's only going to get so much bigger from here.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people want to start a business and get on
Yeah.
Shopify, but they don't know a lot. Like you
Yeah.
need to do like a beginner program too, because I'm telling
Yeah.
you, these people that, just, it's so hard. It's so hard to get started. And so,
Yep.
but okay. So Jon, to just get it out there, let everybody know what you can offer them, if that's something you want to do, if it's consulting, and then we'll make
Yeah.
sure that we get this out there so everybody knows to come to you.
All right.
Let it go.
The two things that I specialize in are getting, having something anywhere in the range from like 100 to 250K as a starting point to just put into everything that somebody needs to like really build out a cohesive brand, similar to how we did Hedo. And so it's either that, where it's like a well capitalized, and I always tell people to think of it, instead of going and buying real estate or all these other things, like, the money that you put into Hedo, when you think about, okay, if this thing keeps going every month, that's going to make you so much more money than if you were to put, a couple $100,000 into a house, and then, maybe it went up 15 or 20% over 5 or 6 years. So like people like that, just thinking of e-commerce as an alternate investment strategy, basically.
I love
So
that.
just because the returns are just like, as long as this stuff is put in the right place, it becomes a downward rolling snowball, and it can only grow from there. So it's just about getting through that grunt work of the initial setup.
And it is that grunt work is the initial, that you just got to trust yourself, because it can be
Yep.
tough at that time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, even, I'm sure you could say like, all right, if you were to start the thing over today and had nothing with Hedo, but then it was like, all right, what do we do now? Like, think of how much more well prepared and just informed you are as opposed to before, where it's like, okay, let's do this, this, and this. And it's pretty systematized. So there's that. And then it would be stores that are doing over $100,000 a month. Those are the ones. So my sweet spot is like mine to market, bring something to life from nothing and then launch it and make it look like $1 million brand before you've sold a single thing. And then, brands that are at between 100 to 250,000 a month and helping them get to 7 figures a month.
I love that.
Yeah, those are the two things that it's just, I know the formula for that. So it's really just about having enough ammunition to toss at it.
And the thing is, it's like, for me, like, I just want other people to be successful too. And, when you see them struggling, like I have a couple of people that are starting their business, but, nothing's happening because they don't know strategy or the right way to build a brand or stuff like that. So guys, look for Jon, because I'm telling you, he can do the job for you. I promise. So thanks for being here. Was it that hard?
That was all right. It was fun. Glad we did it. I had a good time.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to bring up, or you good? Because this is what I wanted people to know, that you can build, like you even sent me information on a video company that could just build your videos to make them just skyrocket high. Have all that information too.
Yep. Just content and making stuff on the internet. Like every day you wake up, some new friend that you hadn't heard from before, you see them making stuff, and then it's like, man, I could do that. And it's really just like, I just think of it as introducing the world to you.
Right.
So just getting on there and for the first time, just talking as if it's something like this, like think of how many people have never done that. Right. And that's like the simplest way to start. So get on, and it's like super, if you're trying to be something you're not, whatever, as opposed to just showing up and, hey guys, what's up? I'm this is stuff I like doing, whatever. Something as silly as that can start building a personal brand and get you followers or just get people to be interested in what you're saying. So
Love it.
that's a good way to start. And
Thanks,
everybody can do that because all you need is a phone.
Thanks, Shopify Guy.
No problem.
Okay, you did it. Ageless Ambitions on Lux Media Studios. You guys, you got to look into Jon if you ever want to start your brand and get going. And if you already have a brand and you just need that pump up, you got to go there to see what Jon's got to offer you. So can't wait for you guys to check that out. And thank you for being here today, and look at all my other episodes because they're informal, positive, inspirational. And thank you for coming and seeing us on today's show. Have a good day, guys.